Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a little mid-year book tag. I'm so excited to film this video, but I know that it is a little bit late. It's a little bit on the late side. I'm currently filming this a few days into July, so basically I'm not going to include any of the books that I've read this month so far. We're only going to use the books up until June, so it really is the mid-year book tag. And I absolutely love a book tag, I do, so I really didn't want to miss out on the mid-year one. I think there's about 15 questions altogether, and I will leave all the questions in the description box as well in case you guys want to do the tag or in case you want to comment your answers. I'd absolutely love to hear them. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So for question one, we have the best book that I've read so far in 2025. This might not be a surprise to anybody because I feel like I talk about this book at any given chance. We have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Listen, this was literally my second read of the year and it still remains to be my favourite read of the year. I honestly just love everything about this. I love Kiva as a main character and I like her character arc. I love the fact that she's a prison healer in this death prison and the elemental trials and elemental magic in there. I also really like the side characters. I feel like the side characters throughout this whole series felt very well-rounded and like proper characters, if that makes sense. They didn't just feel like side characters to me. And the ending of this book literally left my jaw on the floor. I still haven't recovered. I finished this whole series and I still haven't recovered from this first book. And this was a 5-star, 6-star read for me. And I literally haven't stopped thinking about it or talking about it since. Then we have the best sequel that you've read so far this year. Also, might not be a surprise, I've got two for this one, just so that I'm not being overly repetitive. We have The Gilded Cage, which is the second one to the Prison Healer series. This is kind of why I have two options. Just because otherwise this whole video would literally just be the Prison Healer for every single answer. But this one was another 5-star read for me. I just loved it. I loved that we got more of these characters and they just felt a lot more developed through this one. I was honestly just hooked and rooting for Kiva and Jaren this entire book. Definitely one of my favourite sequels that I've probably ever read. And then the other one, I have Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter, which is the sequel to Better Than the Movies. I actually liked this one more than I kind of thought I was going to. I thought I was going to like it, but because I loved Better Than the Movies so much, I kind of feel like this wouldn't match up to it, but it did. It definitely did. Wes Bennett, as an MMC, need I say more? I really like how this one they were actually a little bit older, and I like the kind of situation that Lynn Painter had put them in terms of like they weren't together at the start of this book and how it kind of turned into like a second chance romance situation, which I really enjoyed. I really liked how we got a lot more of Wes in this one. I always kind of feel like Better Than the Movies was Liz's book and then this one was kind of more focused on Wes. Even though we have both perspectives in both books, I don't know what it is, they just kind of feel that way to me. I just enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I thought I was going to like it, so that's saying something, and I think this is a really great sequel. New release you haven't read yet but really want to, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh my goodness, I keep seeing this release everywhere and I feel like everybody's raving about it and I really want to read it. I really want to. I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid just comes up with these characters in the most unique jobs. Like I think this one focuses on two astronauts, which is just like, I've never read about astronauts before and I didn't know that I needed to until this book came out. But this one I've heard so many amazing things about. I also read Daisy Jones and the Six this year and loved that way more than I thought I was going to. And I also read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo when I was like first getting into reading and loved that. And I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid to me is an author that always just goes under the radar. And when I actually go to pick up one of her books, I end up absolutely loving it. So Atmosphere is definitely on my priority to buy list and I definitely really want to read this. Hopefully this year at some point. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This one has to be Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. It has to be, which actually comes out this month. I honestly cannot wait. I love Holly Jackson's books. I've literally read all that she's written so far and I'm really intrigued by this one because it's her first adult novel. So I have a feeling that the vibe is going to be slightly different, hopefully slightly creepier, slightly more on the thriller side. And just the whole concept of this one has me immediately sold. It basically follows a woman who has a brain injury after being attacked and she's told that she has 7 days to live, and in these 7 days she's determined to solve her own murder essentially before the end of the week. Just that whole concept, so fun for a thriller, so unique, and I'm definitely very intrigued, and this is definitely my most anticipated release that we know of right now. that's coming in the second half of the year. Biggest surprise, I have two options for this. We have biggest surprise in a good way and biggest surprise in a bad way. Biggest surprise in a good way, Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This was another 5-star read for me and I did not expect it to be that. I think after reading her whole backlist, and 70 Slip was kind of the only one that really stood out to me, and that was actually the first Ashley Poston book that I read. So I kind of went into this one not having the biggest of expectations. I feel like when a novel love story came out, the whole concept of that I loved the idea of, and I feel like I had such high expectations for that book and it just kind of fell flat for me personally. So this one I just kind of didn't really have any expectations going into it. I just thought it sounded like a little fun magical realism romance. I loved it. I loved it. I literally could not get enough of this book. I read it super quickly. I love the whole telepathic connection that they had. I thought it was so fun to read and literally had me giggling. And I also really enjoyed the small town in here and all the little quirks of the small town and the coastal vibe. And I just think this was really, really beautifully written, and it has similar vibes to me to the 7-Year Slip, just in terms of like how much I enjoyed it and the fact that I really wish that I'd annotated both of these books, and neither of them I annotated. But it's one of those where the writing is just so beautiful that you want to annotate it. So this is probably my biggest surprise in a good way. And then biggest surprise as in biggest letdown, I'm gonna have to say Brain Damage by Freedom McFadden, which makes me so sad to say, to have a Freedom McFadden here at this moment. It honestly makes me so sad. But this one I thought I was gonna absolutely love. I honestly, kid you not, thought this was gonna be a 5-star read. I did, and it was a DNF. It was a DNF. I just could not get on with this. I really couldn't. And I just found it very, very slow, and I didn't love the main character. I didn't love the situation that we were in. I didn't love it. And then when I went on to Goodreads to like look at some of the reviews when I was thinking about DNFing it, a lot of people were saying that it was a lot more of a romance than it was a thriller, which I just was not expecting going into this at all. And there's something about the way that this one is written that I didn't vibe with as much as some of her more recent ones. So I actually DNF'd this, and that's why it's probably my biggest letdown of this year. Next question is favourite author, debut or new to you. For this one I'm gonna say Laura Stephen, who wrote Our Infinite Fates. Another 5-star read this was, honestly, and the way that this was written, stunning. Literally stunning. I tabbed it, I annotated it. I couldn't get enough of this whole concept, of the writing style. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I believe that Laura Stephen also has a new book coming out. I think it's actually this month, and it's another fantasy, and I have been so intrigued to read that one. That's partly because I read Our Infinite Fates and I just love the way that she writes and the way she tells the story, and I will definitely be reading more from this author. Newest fictional crush. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of struggled for this one. I feel like there hasn't been that many standout ones to me so far this year. I just haven't been that fussed. I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of romances, but there's no one particular thing that really stood out to me. I feel like out of all the ones I read though, my favourite is probably Sam Penny from The Conditions of Will. This is probably one of the only ones where I've really, really noticed the MMC and I thought, yes, actually a bit of me. And I really like the way that he was with Georgia in this one. He honestly just feel like he understood her on a different level, and I really enjoyed that, and he just knew what she needed and when she needed it. And this is another one that I actually tabbed because I just really like the writing, and Georgia and Sam definitely had some really, really cute moments. So for newest fictional crush, I'm probably gonna have to say Sam Penny. Book that made you cry. This is another one that I really struggled with because, correct me if I'm wrong, I think only one book this year has actually made me cry, and it was a reread. And I don't know what that says about me, I really don't. I think it is. I was literally looking at these questions, racking my brain thinking, surely another book has made me cry. But I don't think it has. I don't think it has. But the one that actually has was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, which is honestly such a surprise because I know what happens in this book. Like, I know what happens, so why am I crying? But this one hit so much harder the second time round that I read it. I actually don't remember it being as sad as it was, but I was not prepared. I was literally not prepared. I reread this one before the TV show came out, and just the amount of like little Easter eggs that were in here, that reading it for a second time I really picked up on, and it just... I'm not over it. I'm literally still not over it. And the ending, it really got me. It got me and it got me good. Which, like I said, was kind of unexpected because I literally know what happens, but What can I say? It hits every time. And then we have a book that made you happy. And there was one that really stood out to me for this question, and that's The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I just had so much fun reading this book, and I just think I was literally giddy and giggling and kicking my feet throughout this whole thing. It's one of those where if you need a really good, feel-good rom-com, then this is like my go-to recommendation, just because it's so fun and, like I said, literally had me giggling throughout the whole thing, and I just really enjoyed it. And it was a very quick, easy read, and it's definitely one that made me very happy when I was reading it. The most beautiful book that you bought this year or received. This one, I'm gonna say Our Infinite Fates. I just love everything that's happening on this cover. I also really love the actual hardback and the little quote and the ribbon that goes all the way down the spine. I just think it's absolutely stunning and really captures the whole vibe of the book as well, and I just love it. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I actually have 3 options for this one in total. The first one being a new release that's not actually out yet. We have Fearful by Lauren Roberts, which is her, I think it's her final novella that's coming, if I'm not mistaken. This one I honestly can't wait to read, and I would definitely be prioritising on release day for that one. So I definitely want to read that as soon as it comes out. We also have a classic. I'm trying to read a classic a month. I'm trying a new little challenge with myself to see if I can, and also I have like a list of classics in my head that I really want to read at some point, so it kind of just keeps me on track in doing that. And the one that is probably at the top of my list at the minute is actually The Great Gatsby, which I've literally never read, and I don't even really know the story of this one. And this one is also really short as well. I think it's only like 150 pages ish, not even that. And I feel like this one is a lot of people's absolute favourite classic, so I'm really intrigued to see what it's like. This is definitely one that I want to read by the end of the year. And then we have a summer book that I'm hoping to read this summer, because I didn't read it last summer and I really wanted to, so it's definitely top priority on my summer TBR, and that's Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I feel like I've been seeing Carly Fortune's books everywhere, and this whole series everybody is literally raving about, so I'm starting off with the first book, which is Every Summer After, and I can't wait. I feel like this is going to be the perfect little summery romance, hopefully. How many 5-star reads have I had so far this year? I'm not gonna lie, I've actually had a lot of 4.5 star ratings, a lot of them, like almost 5 stars, but I've only had 5-star reads so far this year, and one of those was a reread. So the reread we have We Were Liars. This was a 5-star read the first time that I read it, and a 5-star read the second time. Also, like I mentioned earlier, we have The Prison Healer, which is 5-star, 6-star read, and also The Gilded Cage, which is the second one. Then we have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven, and last but not least, Sounds Like Love by Ashley Postman, which is actually my most recent 5-star read. I literally found this book in June when it was released. So 5 altogether out of the, I think it's like 45 books that I've read so far this year. Around the 40 mark. So I feel like it's not too bad, considering that I've had a lot of 4.5 stars as well. I feel like 5-star reads is quite strong. Kind of. What books do you want to reread this year? And I actually have 2 potentials for this. I don't know whether I will definitely get around to them this year, but they are books that I'm kind of thinking that I might want to reread. The first one we have If He Had Been With Me by Lauren Allen. I've actually been saying that I'd like to reread this one for a while, and I'm just waiting for the right time. I don't know when that time will be, but I'm just waiting for it. I'd love to reread this one specifically because I want to annotate it. And this is one that I read quite early on when I was getting into reading, and it was a time that I wasn't annotating my books. So this one being an all-time favourite, I do want to go back and annotate it at some point. So this is definitely up there, but whether I'll get to it this year or not, who knows. And then the other potential is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, and the reason for this one is because the movie is coming out in November, so I would quite like to reread this before the movie comes out, just to remind myself. I do feel like I remember this one quite well, but I would kind of like to reread it just to see closer to when the movie is actually being released. So this is definitely a potential reread towards the end of the year. A book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. I'm gonna say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which is her newest release. And this one was a 4.5 stars for me. I loved this one. I had such a good time. And I've seen a lot after I read it that people just really didn't love it and it just didn't hit for them. But I really liked it. I really liked it. I think Abby Jimenez did a long distance relationship really well. And I also think it's really interesting that these 2 people literally went on one day and they formed this really intense connection, and for me it didn't feel insta-lovey, even though it technically could be. It just didn't feel like that. I don't know what it is. I think because they stayed in contact afterwards and the connections just grow and grow with them. But I just really enjoyed this. I thought it was so beautifully written, as Abby Jimenez's books literally always are, and it just has such a good balance of being fun and also dealing with deeper topics. And a lot of the themes throughout here, like memory and being remembered and wanting to be remembered, were just written about so beautifully, and I really enjoyed it. And I think this is probably my second favourite, if not joint with Part of Your World. And I was actually surprised to see so many mixed reviews on this one, but I personally loved it. I had a good time. And we're actually on to the last question, which is 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. This one's tricky. This one's tricky. I'm gonna say Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I genuinely think has 5-star potential. Also Time of Your Life by Jess Hastings. I think that one also definitely has potential because it really gives me Magnolia Park's vibes. And also Heavenly Bodies, which is actually already on my TBR, which is a fantasy romantasy. And the reason that I think this is potentially going to be a 5-star read is because not only does it have enemies to lovers, but it also focuses on like soulmates and being destined for each other. And that's one of my all-time favourite tropes, so I do think that one definitely has 5-star potential. They're the three that I'm gonna predict are gonna be 5-star reads, hopefully. But we'll see when they come out and when I actually end up getting to Heavenly Bodies. But that's all the questions for the mid-year book tag. As I said, I will leave all the questions down below. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for being here, and I will hopefully see you in my next video.